In the shadowy world of global finance, one name stands out for all the wrong reasons: HSBC. This isn't just a story about billions of dirty dollars. It's a story about negligence, greed, and the complicity of a banking giant in one of the largest money laundering scandals in history. Between 2006 and 2010, cartels funneled billions through HSBC accounts. The cost? A mere $881 million in fines, and no jail time for anyone involved. But how did it happen? And why did the justice system fall short? Today, we uncover the truth. Founded in 1865, HSBC was built to connect the East and West through trade and finance. By the 21st century, it had grown into a global banking powerhouse, with over 40 million customers across 60 countries. Known for stability and trust, HSBC became a pillar of the global financial system. Meanwhile, across the Americas, drug cartels like Mexico's Sinaloa cartel were amassing unimaginable wealth. But there was a problem. How do you turn billions in cash into legitimate money that can be moved, invested, or spent without raising suspicion? Enter money laundering, the process of disguising illegal funds as legitimate earnings. Money laundering works in 3 phases. First, the placement stage, where dirty cash enters the financial system through methods like bank deposits or cash purchases. Second, layering, where the money is moved through complex transactions to obscure its origins. And finally, integration, where the funds re-enter the economy as seemingly legitimate income. For cartels, banks like HSBC became the perfect gateway for this process. In the early 2000s, HSBC aggressively expanded into emerging markets, including Mexico, a hub for the Sinaloa and Norte del Valle cartels. While this expansion opened new revenue streams, it also exposed the bank to high-risk clients and massive volumes of suspicious transactions. HSBC's compliance systems weren't ready for what came next. Internally, HSBC employees raised alarms. Compliance teams flagged billions in suspicious transactions flowing through Mexican branches. Massive cash deposits, sometimes in shrink-wrapped boxes, were routine. Yet, these warnings went unheeded. Profits came first, and compliance came last. Regulators like the U.S. Treasury Department and the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCEN, had flagged HSBC multiple times for weak anti-money laundering, but enforcement was lackluster, and HSBC continued operating with minimal consequences. Loopholes in global AML standards allowed cartels to exploit the very banks that were supposed to stop them. Between 2006 and 2010, HSBC became a key player in the cartel's money laundering schemes. Cash flowed so freely that some branches installed windows to handle bulk deposits. The bank's compliance system was completely overwhelmed. Accounts linked to cartels remained open, and monitoring tools flagged transactions with no follow-up. One common method used was the black market peso exchange. Here's how it worked. Drug cash was deposited into HSBC accounts and used to buy goods like electronics. These goods were then sold in cartel markets, converting illegal money into seemingly legitimate revenue. The problem wasn't confined to Mexico. HSBC's U.S. branches failed to monitor cross-border transactions, while international hubs processed billions without sufficient scrutiny. Even HSBC's London office ignored red flags from affiliates in high-risk regions. Several HSBC insiders attempted to raise concerns. Whistleblowers reported massive discrepancies in compliance, detailing how senior executives ignored warnings. But these voices were drowned out by a culture of prioritizing profits over ethics. By 2012, the U.S. Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations launched an inquiry into HSBC. Their findings were damning. HSBC had willfully exposed the financial system to drug money and terrorist financing. The report detailed failures at every level, from compliance staff to senior executives. HSBC ultimately agreed to pay $881 million in fines as part of a deferred prosecution agreement. The DOJ labeled the settlement a deterrent, but critics saw it as a slap on the wrist. No executives were criminally charged, and, for many, this raised an unsettling question. Was HSBC too big to jail? The lack of criminal charges only fueled perceptions of inequality in the justice system, where powerful institutions seemingly operated above the law. HSBC's reputation as a global banking leader took a significant hit. Customers and investors questioned the bank's ethics, and competitors capitalized on the scandal. Despite extensive PR efforts to rebuild trust, the stain of the money laundering scandal lingered, especially in regions like Mexico, where the bank's role in enabling drug cartels hit hardest. The HSBC scandal wasn't just about one bank. It exposed vulnerabilities in the entire global financial system. Other major banks faced scrutiny, with regulators investigating their compliance practices. The scandal highlighted systemic issues, including weak oversight of international transactions and the failure to enforce anti-money laundering laws effectively. Several insiders had flagged HSBC's compliance failures years before the scandal broke. Yet, these voices were often ignored or silenced. In the aftermath, lawmakers called for stronger protections for whistleblowers, ensuring their safety and encouraging others to speak out against corruption. Governments and regulators worldwide were forced to confront their own failures. In response, international organizations introduced stricter anti-money laundering, emphasizing the need for greater transparency and more robust compliance systems. Technology played a key role in this reform, with many banks adopting advanced AI tools to detect suspicious activity in real time. Beyond the financial and regulatory fallout, the human cost of HSBC's actions cannot be ignored. By enabling cartels, HSBC indirectly contributed to the violence, addiction, and suffering caused by the drug trade. Communities in Mexico and beyond bore the brunt of this negligence, paying a price that no financial settlement could ever cover. The HSBC scandal showed that money laundering isn't a localized issue. It's a global one. Addressing it requires systemic change, from improving cross-border collaboration to closing regulatory loopholes that criminals exploit. Only by working together can we create a financial system resilient to abuse. As financial technology evolves, so do the challenges of maintaining ethical banking. But With these challenges come opportunities, opportunities to rebuild trust, innovate responsibly, and ensure that financial institutions serve the public good as much as their bottom lines. We must demand accountability, reward transparency, and ensure that ethics aren't just a buzzword, but a guiding principle. Because the next big scandal isn't a question of if, it's a question of when. If you found this story compelling, hit the like button, subscribe, and join us as we uncover the hidden truths behind the world's most shocking financial scandals.